This month we put together an ITX gaming system for you guys, and this is going to be a video. So this month we're putting together an i5 based ITX gaming system. Now for this video what we did is we put it together for you in this snazzy Lee & Lee case. I like it because it's small. Now we had lots of different choices to go for the case. I went with this one, even though the Prodigy, could fit a bigger cooling unit. I went with this one just because of size. If I want something that I'm going to carry around, I want something that's a little bit more portable. It won't take up that much room in the trunk of the car, or the boot if you're in Canada. What do they say in England? In England. We're from America. What you all say in England, y'all? Uses. Well, what's that? Oh yeah, South Carolina. Just tell me what it is, honey child. By the way, at the end of this video, I'm going to give you guys some details on how you can win the ADATA SX900, the 256GB SSD drive. Things freaking fast. Our review is on the screen. First off, let's go through all our specs and talk about, how fast it is. For the CPU, the Intel i5 3570K. Now you can run this at the stock clock. I'm using the stock cooling unit because it will do an okay job, especially at stock clock. You're okay. You can push this thing. I pushed it all the way to 4.5, and with the stock clock, I was getting close to 90 degrees at full load, and that's a lot. With the stock cooling unit, I wouldn't push this thing to 4.5 unless you're crazy. For the motherboard, EVGA Z77 Stinger. It's currently my favorite mini-ITX motherboard because it has tons of features, and I was able to get some crazy overclocks with it. So tons of features there, and you guys can check out the review for that product, or the overview for that product. For the memory, ADATA Extreme Series 2133 MHz memory, cast latency of 10. For the graphics card, the EVGA GTX 670, it's a monster. I wanted something fast. I didn't want to spend the money to get a GTX 680, but the GTX 670 with a little bit of an overclock is a very, very good card, and it fits just fine in this case. The GTX 680 will fit in this case as well, and so will the 7970. So in this little ITX case, you can fit a lot. For the hard drive, of course, we've got the ADATA XPG SX900, and this is the 256GB flavor. The read and write speeds are both well over 550. You guys can check out my review for that. I've already looked at that one. And then I'm going to be giving this thing away any second now. Just keep watching. Wait. If you can't wait, go get a bowl of cereal and come back. Because there's no fast forward on YouTube. It's just like television. For the case, we've got this Lee & Lee PCQ18. Now, the main feature with this case is the build quality and the fact that it's very small. We also have a 140mm fan in the top and one in the front as well. There's a spot on the bottom for another 140mm fan. Now, if you wanted to install some aftermarket cooling, you could do so using one of the, like all-in-one water cooling kits. The problem that I have with this case is that if you're using, if you want to use like a tall heatsink, it's not going to work. You either have to use stock or, like a low-profile cooling unit or a water cooling unit. But then there's not a lot of places to mount it. One thing you could do is get like the NZXT, the Kraken X40. Mount that in the front here. You can unscrew the hard drive bays if you're not going to be using mechanical hard drives. You can unscrew all those. There's hot swappable bays there, and install it there, and then that'll be just fine. The other thing I like about this is that all of the hard drive bays are hot swappable. So one thing I'm going to do, I put together the gaming system in here. I'm actually going to pull this thing apart after I give away some of the parts like this, and put a few hard drives in the hot swap bay and start playing around with it as a NAS. I'll make a how-to video on how to make a NAS as well, but I like having those hot swap bays. Those are really handy. For the power supply, Seasonic M12-2, it's a 620 watt bronze certified power supply. Now Seasonic, a lot of the parts you'll find in the high-end power supplies come from Seasonic. So I figured for this one I found a good price on that Seasonic, so just use that one. Now let's talk about the gaming benchmarks, because that's what we're going to be using this for. And I'll tell you guys right now how fast it is. Starting off with Crysis Warhead, running it at 1080p, 41.04 frames per second at the stock, and with the overclock at 4.5 gigahertz, 51.2 frames per second. Far Cry 3 at 1080p, 25.84 frames per second. Everything's maxed, by the way. All the settings are maxed on all these games. So we turn everything up as high as it'll go, all the filters and all the anti-aliasing, everything up as high as it'll go. And with the overclock, we got 31.16 frames per second. Metro 2033 at 1080p, DirectX 11, high-res textures, everything maxed. 30.28 frames per second at stock, and 33.44 frames per second at the 4.5 gigahertz overclock. Natural selection true, 1080p, 53.64 frames per second, and with the overclock, 76.73 frames per second. Skyrim, 1080p, 77.28 frames per second at stock clock, and 101.96 frames per second with the overclock. Pretty good gain there on the overclock. Trine 2, 1080p, 52.6 frames per second with the stock clock, and 55.28 frames per second with the overclock. So if you're taking this to, like a LAN party or something, it's going to be one hell of a system, and a lot of people are going to be like gathering around to look at it. It makes me happy. So that's what I would do right now if I was going to build a system this size, and I just did build a system this size. I think it's very pretty. The aluminum is so nice and soft on this. This has got to be like the softest aluminum that I've felt. It's weird. What do they do to this thing? I don't even know. I'm probably just going to take all the components out and go home and like cuddle with this thing for a while. Here's how you win this 88SX900 256GB SSD drive. You need to go to facebook.com and do some crap. There's a link in the description. After you do that junk, you will be entered to win it. And every time you share this thing, you'll get extra entries to win this thing. And in 2 weeks, we'll give this away. So 2 weeks from today. You can also enter on Syndicate.com. If you do not have a Facebook account and you hate Facebook from the bottom of your heart, you just loathe it, there's a link for that in the description. So that way we make sure that everyone's included, even the people that hate Facebook. How happy is that? Everyone's happy. All right, if you guys have any questions, inbox TechSyndicate.com. I'm talking very fast, and that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoy it and go out and build things.